All right, thank you for stopping back in. I wanted to talk a little bit more about Sabbac, the DC character, from the perspective of like what this character means, when he was created, a little bit outside of what the mythology is, and kind of digging into the why of this character. Now, this is a character that was developed way back in 1943, and he was initially introduced as a villain for Captain Marvel during a golden age of comics. And this was an era where superheroes were heavily influenced by wartime propaganda, morality tales, and a fight between good and evil. And this is very much reflected. So that's kind of the historical context of what this character really represents. And it looks like they really pull from a lot of like key mythology for this character, right? He represents kind of some deeply rooted ideas about demonology and Christian mythology. His abilities come from 6 named demons, being Satan, Am, Belial, Beelzebub, Asmodeus, and Crateis, who grant him super strength, dark magic, and destructive potential. And all these characters, of course, come from Christian demonology and Jewish mysticism. So those are 2 components, especially if we talk more about these guys reflective in their own mythology, and I'll do that later for all these. I'll profile each one of these deities, and so this is kind of the backdrop on where this character was created, and he fits this archetype of the ultimate evil, and this aligned with wartime propaganda about the the Axis powers. There was a concept of demonic possession that resonated with these fears of ideological corruptions from things like fascism or communism or moral decay. So by the time the Cold War had emerged, he was already embodied as a satanic presence, the supernatural evil. This is an unseen force that is corrupting the world, and that's why you see these larger things happening, because there's this evil architect in the background. That's what these characters tend to represent, based on that viewpoint. His ideas was that he spreads fear and he spreads panic. He's unlike, Shazam, who gets his powers from benevolent gods. He gets his, and he's forced to constantly, fit that trope of bargaining with the evil forces and the control over humanity. So he remains one of their satanic fear. They're most, highly reinforcing that ideology of Christian about demonic possession and the struggles of heaven and hell. He is probably their centerpiece for that. And he is mostly villainous. He follows some archetypes like Loki or even the Titans, beings who wielded, immense power but were outside of divine laws. He kind of lines up with Faustian myth, the idea of a mortal who gains dark powers through deal with supernatural forces. So those are the ideas. When you start looking at like Mephistopheles and the idea of getting granted powers, this aligns with it. And then he is the counter for Shazam as the divine hero. As Shazam represents enlightenment, discipline, and divine favor, Sabbac embodies raw destruction, power with no moral restraint. So this is a classic light versus darkness storytelling between the two. It is very much built on the structure of demonology, Bible mythology. It has strong themes driven by World War II and Cold War fears, which was heavy in the background in 1943, and also this external and internal struggle between light and dark. So he really serves as Shazam's dark twin. That's kind of how I really, like, someone I read that kind of interpretation that really stuck with me. Like, he is this dark version of this hero that we love, and this is why that he looks this way. So he fits in a lot of stereotypes. Like, if we look at him, kind of fits the chaos demon, the demonic lord, Surtur of Norse mythology kind of fits that type. And he becomes this personification of ultimate evil and darkness. So a great character. I like understanding why these characters exist and like what was he kind of feeding. And these, I think, are the fears that were very real for the nation at the time this character was produced. If you have more to add to it, I'm sure you do. Please hit me up in the comment section. And as always, I'm going to ask you for that like and subscribe to help keep the channel growing.